hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Now go ahead. What I remember you had said to me was that you were there appearing with You Can't Take It With You, which would have been in 38 or 39, I believe.
Yes, it would have been 30. It was shot in 38, and I remember, I think in 39, I don't think it came out until the latter part of 38, but they sent me out on a personal appearance tour with the film.
Uh-huh.
And I came out on stage afterward and talked to the people and so forth. And can't remember whether I did a dance number or not, but it was like a personal appearance with the film. And, of course, that picture won the Academy Award. But I remember the theater so well because I remember, did it have stars at the ceiling?
I believe so, yes.
Something like blue with stars? I can't remember that, but it's so long ago.
Right.
But I believe that theater had a ceiling that had some sparkles in the ceiling. But I remember the theater, how lovely it was, and I'm so thrilled that they are going to take the energy and the time to refurbish it and to make it something wonderful, because they need a good, legitimate house in Phoenix. They don't really have that. I came to Phoenix and did Sugar Babies at the, I believe, is it called the Gamage?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, I remember now. Is that in Tempe?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And, but I think you need a marvelous, legit house, and that theater will be fabulous, I think.
Do you remember anything of that night that you appeared here in Phoenix with You Can't Take It With You?
Well, it's been so long ago. I don't remember too much, but I know that I was in the theater, and I know that I was on that stage, and I think it could have been You Can't Take It With You. If it wasn't You Can't Take It With You, it was Too Many Girls with Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball. It was one or the other. But I remember that I came on stage, and I said hello to the people and talked to the people. And I don't remember whether it was a big charity evening or what. It was something, it was a very nice evening. That's all I remember.
Do you remember anything about the audiences or the people that you spoke with, the native Phoenicians that you spoke with?
No, it's been so long ago, I don't remember too much about that.
Okay.
But I do remember that it was a wonderful evening and that I was in that theater, and I remember what really sort of clicked it was something about the ceiling. It was quite beautiful. Now, I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. We'll have to find out if the ceiling had some blue stars twinkling in it.
What I understand is it did have a star field, and apparently planets or something else
That's it.
indicated on the...
That's right. I remember. See, now, isn't that strange how the human mind is? But that's going back a long time, so it's hard to recollect too much about it. But I went on tour with this film, and I went to many cities in the United States, but I did come to Phoenix with it.
Do you remember when...
And I know that I stayed at the Camelback Inn.
Ah, okay. Do you remember when somebody said, "Oh, hey, Ann, we're going to go to Phoenix for this tour"? Did you even know what Phoenix was then? It was so small. Would you have even heard of it by then?
Oh, yes, because, you see, I used to come to the Camelback Inn with my mother, and we would come up to Phoenix because the air was so wonderful and so clean, and it was just a nice experience, sort of like Palm Springs when it first started out. It was a wonderful small village, more or less, and Phoenix wasn't that big, but I remember the Camelback Inn, and a man by the name of Ed, I think, was the manager of it. Very nice man. Then years later, I came back again with Edmund G. Brown and his wife, and William V. O'Connor, who was the Assistant Attorney General of the United States at that time. Many years later, I came with them and stayed at Camelback. So Camelback has sort of played a little, kind of a little bit of a thing in my heart. Mountain Shadows was built later, and I stayed there one time. But I've always loved Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to buy lots of Indian jewelry and beautiful things when I was there that the Indian people made. I just have vague memories, but I know that it was a nice experience.
In a couple years, when the restoration is done, and there's going to be a new opening night, and obviously you're going to be one of the preeminent guests that evening, thinking ahead, how do you think you're going to feel when that happens?
Oh, I think it's going to be marvelous because that the people of Arizona want to preserve this theater. I think it's fabulous. I was in St. Louis and did Sugar Babies, and they preserved the fabulous Fox Theater there, which was one of the great landmarks. And they still kept Grauman's Chinese, which they finally duplicated it in Disneyland, and I was invited down to Disneyland, and they put my hands and feet in the courtyard of the Disneyland Roman Chinese Theater over in Orlando. And I think it's great that they're taking the time out to preserve some of these great landmarks.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a moment. We have a lot of stages here. This building is 60-something years old and crumbling, basically. That's why it has to be renovated. Why should we even bother? Why not just tear it down and build a nice chrome and glass theater that's all brand new?
Because in those days, they built these theaters quite elaborate, and I don't think they could afford to do that now. The brass and chrome theaters, you see them by the pound, but you don't see the great art and the great, the old world feeling. You don't see that too often. And I think it's wonderful that they're keeping that, because it's so incredible. I mean, they can't afford to build a theater like that today. Brass and chrome is so modern and so boring. I would prefer to be in a beautiful theater that has a history to it.
Do you have any parting comments on what it meant to you to perform in Phoenix, what it means to you that this theater is being restored? Anything else that you'd like to share?
It's just that I've always loved Arizona, and coming over here has always been a great pleasure for me. Particularly, I live in Sedona part-time. I come up in the winter, and I come down to Scottsdale and Phoenix, and I love the Biltmore Hotel. That has a great meaning to me. I've always loved the Biltmore. I used to come over with my mother and stay there and rest after a tremendous schedule of doing films. I just think to me, Phoenix and Arizona is the big coming state. I mean, it's entirely different than any other place I've been to, and it's growing well, and I think it's marvelous, and I think it's great that they're preserving this beautiful old landmark, because as I said, they can't afford to do them anymore.